Welcome everybody, my name is Dylan Spalding with Auto Racing Digest. We are here at the Daytona HSR weekend and we are joined with a very, very special guest. I am happy to be here with the 14-time championship winning engineer in F1. He is currently the engineer at Red Bull Racing. So happy to be joined with Andrew Newey. Andrew, thank you, or Adrian. Geez,
Adrian.
I apologize
Okay.
terribly. Thank you so much for joining me. Great
Pleasure.
to talk with you, and excited to get to unpack a couple of things here today.
Okay, good. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Adrian, this is obviously an exciting week for you. You know, with HSR coming here, you are a big sports car collector yourself. You have an extensive collection. So to be a part of an event like this where you have cars from different eras, cars from different manufacturers and different years, it must be really special to be a part of something like this here, which is HSR at Daytona.
Yeah, no, it's so I came out for the Laguna Seca races in August, the prehistoric and the historic. With Zach Brown, he had some space from McLaren. He had some space in his container, so I put the GT40 in with it. And then Jim Farley from Ford, he was also racing his Cobra at Laguna, so he said, why don't we do Daytonas together? So he brought the car back to his place in Connecticut, got it prepared for here, and here we are.
Beautiful Ford GT you have this weekend that you guys are racing. You and Jim are here this weekend. To be able to have this relationship with Jim and be able to race these machines and such, how awesome is it to be able to be a part of something like that? And what is that relationship like with Jim?
Well, I mean, Jim's an amazing guy. You know, we've only known him for a year or so since we did the deal with Ford on the Red Bull powertrain side of things, but really got to know him well. He's a very down-to-earth, just a proper racer. He really enjoys this classics as I do, classic racing. So we found we've got just a lot in common, our kind of way we go about things. Obviously very different jobs, but similar mentality.
Adrian, your bread and butter obviously is being the engineer at Red Bull and in F1. You've had an extensive career, 14-time champion. You know, how has that experience changed over the years? Obviously, F1 has grown. The technology and the development process has completely changed. How has your experience in F1 changed over the years, winning championships with the different teams that you've been a part of?
Well, the first championship was with Williams in 1992, and in those days the design team was probably maybe 20 people, perhaps a bit less, something like that. The whole team was around 200, but that was of course before the computer age. And then what I think really changed things was as for everything in life, the dawn of the computer age. And what that's allowed us to do is to go into much more detail on the simulation side, on the aerodynamics by what's called computational fluid dynamics, CFD, which allows you to visualize. It doesn't replace the wind tunnel, but it allows you to visualize the flow, so you have a much better understanding of the flow physics when you go to the wind tunnel. You know, then driver in the loop simulators coming on, so that we can research things without having to actually run the car around the track. So, and that's all those simulation tools. That's allowed us to do is have, as I say, a much more detailed understanding in all areas. And that's really why the design teams have then mushroomed in size. So now at Red Bull we're probably getting on for 200 engineers, from tenfold the size that we were in the early 90s. In the early 90s, really, regardless of budget, we'd had 200 engineers who wouldn't have known what to do with them. But now, say, we can go into this amazing detail, and so the job changes. Like all, just like life, we all change as technology changes, and kind of because it changes relatively slowly, you don't really notice or think about it. You just adapt and move on.
One of the big changes that is pending to be coming here in F1, and our F1 rider wanted this question to be asked, so I'll ask it to you, is the net zero and the zero carbon engines that will be coming to F1 here in the future. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the zero carbon engines and how you guys plan to attack that going forward as engineers?
Well, so there's two parts to zero carbon for the 2026 rules. One is to use a non-fossil fuel. the combustion engine side of things, and then the others to increase the electrical side, so the battery size and the motor size. So it's a combined approach. I think we need to be very mindful of the environment. So I completely agree with the move towards something which is carbon neutral. That is clear. Exactly what the best technical solutions are going forwards, I think, is very dependent on the application. So fundamentally, you kind of got, well, obviously nuclear for generating electricity is one way of doing it, wind power, solar, etc. But then talking specifically about the automobile, then you kind of can do it through sustainable fuel, which you can use electricity and water basically to make ethanol, which you can then become petrol. So that's one way of doing it. You can use biofuel, which the Brazilians have been doing for 30 years or so. And then of course there's electric and there's hydrogen. And I think how you use those is going to be very application driven. I think that's where, of course, governments don't necessarily, Western governments in particular, tend to go for votes, and so they try to impose this blanket, everything must be electric. It's not the sole solution. So I hope that with time the correct solutions for the environment will come out.
Yeah, we're seeing that a lot, especially now in other series, especially in WEC. WEC's been implementing a lot of things where they're trying to cut down on they're trying to impact in terms of their environmental impact, and that's really kind of becoming the future. Do you see more series now? Do you feel that more series will begin to start really seeing that the environmental impact is becoming a big factor here in racing?
Yes, I think it will. I mean, first of all, you know, racing needs to take on an environmental responsibility. You could say then a bit hypocritical to be racing a classic car here, but the footprint is quite small. I think the main thing about racing is that, particularly Formula One and WEC, then it popularises to the public, and so if Formula One and WEC can be shown to be leading the way and coming up with good solutions, then hopefully the TV viewer will be looking for that in the showroom, and that's certainly what's happened in the past.
Being with Red Bull, obviously you guys have built a culture over there with that team and have had a big cult following, obviously, with that. You know, for you, what do you hope that you are able to leave in terms of with Red Bull? You know, once your career is done and you are out of Formula One, what do you hope you are able to leave with Red Bull and even with F1 in terms of your work as an engineer?
I think within Red Bull, then it's really, you know, I've been involved more or less right from the start of Red Bull's entry into Formula One. And occupation hazard of doing an interview at a racetrack. Yeah, and so tried to create a culture. That sounds a bit ostentatious, but tried to make sure that we have an engineering team that has a culture of where we try to run everything in a very flat structure, try to have strong communication, try to make everybody feel involved and empowered, and no criticism. So if somebody makes a mistake, we don't kind of put a gun, we try to talk through and embrace everything. And that I hope is what makes us strong as a team. It's certainly allowed us to create a great group of engineers now. I think we have all the senior guys all the way through the organisation. A really good group of people. They get on well. We, touch wood, have very little politics and kind of infighting, and that I hope is what we can continue.
Closing out here in 2023, obviously you guys already secured the 2023 championship. Congratulations on that to you and the Red Bull team. you know, going towards the end of 2023, heading into 2024, what's in store for you? What do you have planned? What's in terms of, you know, your work? What is next for Adrian Newey?
Well, first of all, I think there might be two questions in there. So in terms of Red Bull as a team going into 2024, then maybe those are the two noisy ones. Then next year's car will be the third generation of last year's car, so an evolutionary car. You know, it's third year into a set of regulations. Of course, the margins, or certainly we're finding the gains are becoming smaller. What our competition does over the winter, we've got no idea. It's the usual thing. We've just got to get on our own game and see where we are. In terms of me personally, well, I still love the job, but I am also now involved in other things. With Red Bull, we're doing a track-only car. We've got some other projects. We're doing some work with the Lingy on the America's Cup. We're doing some work with KTM on the MotoGP. We're doing a submarine which is the wish of our former owner, our late owner. So we've got quite a few bits and pieces going on.
Well, I'm excited to see what's to come for you, Adrian. Again, congratulations on all your success, and have a great rest of your weekend here at Daytona.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.